Well, in the case of the BBC Micro, there was a fantastic program called UMI, UMI. It was developed for the BBC, and it enabled me to be able to trigger 16 synthesizers or drum machines at the same time. And so I could create a kind of almost an orchestral sound, or the sound of a 16-piece band, you know, with just my fingers. And being the control freak that I am, you know, it was wonderful to be able to take over the part of the bass player and the drummer, and, you know, without getting complaints. In the early days, there was like very basic sequencers, like things like the ARP Sequencer, which you could only do like a 16-step pattern, so it was very repetitive. And then Roland brought out a thing called the MC-4, and you could program 4 synthesizers to play simultaneously at once. It was all number based. So, for instance, you know, to play a C, you had to program in 0, 12, 24, 36, or whatever, and the rest of it. And then the gate times, and then the step times. But the BBC UMI program, it was more visual, you know, so you could actually see the notes, and you could manipulate it much more quickly. And you could build up this kind of like this picture, you know. You could start with your bass line and go, oh, yeah, that note works with that note, or that drum sound, or that beat works with that particular bass part, for instance. And then you could kind of you could do more messing around, more experimentation. It was very roadworthy, you know. When we toured, we had a couple on as backups. But I think also it was, you know, you get used to something, you get used to programming something, and I got pretty good at programming the UMI with the BBC Micro. You know, I got pretty fast, so it took me a long time to get used to a mouse. When it first came out, it was you were able to do things that you couldn't do before. The BBC Micro together with UMI made perfect sense for the way that I create music. In the early days, I mean, people weren't particularly interested in making computer music, but it transformed my life, that's for sure.